In a sea of perceived perfectionism and perfect Insta-worthy squares, keeping mum life real is more important than ever. So grab a cuppa and join me this week for a Keeping It Real chat with the wonderful Amy Voce.
You've had your year's maternity leave, and then you're faced with, okay, well, now I've got to spend a fortune on childcare, coupled with the fact you probably don't want to put your kid in nursery 5 days a week and have someone else raise your kid like that. I don't think I was prepared for that.
They'll just fit into our life and I won't change. I'll still be this same sort of person with some additions. And from the moment Finley was born, I was like a completely different human.
And sometimes I feel annoyed at the system more than anything than parenthood. You know, we should be around our kids as much as we want to be.
Hello, I'm Pip, and welcome to the Midwife Pip podcast, the home of expert information and real chats on all things pregnancy, birth, and beyond. In a sea of perceived perfectionism and perfect Insta-worthy squares, keeping mum life real is more important than ever. So grab a cuppa and join me this week for a Keeping It Real chat with the wonderful Amy Voce, a familiar voice as a radio presenter and podcaster, and a lovely human and also toddler mum. Welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for coming back on. I know last time you were on, you were a duo with amazing Jenny, and this time you're solo, but thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me back on. Yeah, Jenny's busy at work today, I think, but you know, sometimes it's just nice to catch up. It's been a while. How are you?
It has been a while. I've grown. Were you pregnant when you came on my podcast last time? I think you were still pregnant.
I think I was either pregnant or it was newborn, but I think I was pregnant.
I think you were pregnant.
Yeah. And then I think because you've been on our podcast a couple of times with me and Jenny on Two New Mums, it's been a bit, so it feels like I've spoken to you loads. But yeah, when I came on yours,
I think you and Jenny were both pregnant. So that means since you were last on my podcast, there's been 3 humans.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's good going.
It's a lot of responsibility right there.
Good job. Good job. You've been productive.
Mostly from you, Pip. Let's be honest. So, I mean, I'm desperate to hear more about life with a toddler and a newborn, and you've had a lot going on. So, yeah. You need to tell me how are you? You look so. I just said when you came on the call, why do you look so fresh? You don't look tired at all.
I just confess that it's all sweat because I just did 20 minutes on the bike in between podcast recordings because you know what it's like? I'm like, the baby's asleep. I've got 20 minutes with nothing to do. Let's do something for me. And it was raining outside. So my plans for a walk, well, I mean, I could have walked in the rain. It's not like I'm going to shrink, is it? But I decided to hop on the bike and then have quickly, in true working mum style, done a quick flannel freshen up, clean t-shirt and trousers and pants.
Well done.
And,
well done.
Here we are. So just rocking the sweat.
Hey, whatever works. If that's the key, I'm going to go and do some this afternoon. But yeah,
just jump around a little bit. But no, life's good, Amy. I always say it's double the work. Of course, we're also started potty training this weekend, as you do.
Oh yeah, throw that in the mix. Why don't you, Pip? Sure, I've got a newborn and a toddler. I'll do some potty training.
But Amy, it's worse than that. During the potty training yesterday, my husband James decided to knock a wall down.
What's wrong with you all?
Calm down.
You're in the newborn. You shouldn't even be doing that. You should be taking the newborn excuse and doing lots of, what daytime tea. I got really into a place in the sun and was like, right, let's move abroad. I mean, well done. It's very impressive. But yeah, crikey.
We're just rolling with the punches. But anyway, how are you? How is toddler life? Because pregnant last time we spoke, you've gone through birth, you've had a baby, and now here we are.
Toddler life's good. I really love toddler life. I think, and I'm quite keen to reiterate that point, and I've said this before on our podcast, is that I feel like when you're in the newborn stage and whatever age your baby is, you'll get a lot of, especially when it's really hard. And I had some serious sleep deprivation days where I struggled and people would say, well, it does get a bit easier, but it just gets different. Or some people are like, well, just you wait and it'll get the toddler bit is even harder. And I don't agree. Like, it's different battles, but they're far more manageable battles, in my opinion. And I'm getting sleep, and she started nursery 2 afternoons a week. So it's just getting that bit of time back. And yeah, I feel like life is a lot more manageable. She's asking for an ice lorry every 30 seconds, but I prefer that to just, the sort of sleep deprivation battle days and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love it. And they're just funny at this age. I mean, she's coming out with really funny lines and just talking. And I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
You're so right. Everything's easier with sleep. Like
Well,
everything is
that's it.
easier with sleep,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like just
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. If you've got that, if you've got a baby and they're sleeping, and yeah, you just crack on. But that is what I think, really ultimately comes down to.
Absolutely. And talk to me about the funny toddler stuff because you're right, they are just hilarious. We started potty training this weekend, and today was his first day at nursery in his pants. So God knows how that's gone, let's be honest. I kind of waved him off like, good luck, buddy. But he ran into his little room, pulled his trousers down and went, I've got Paw Patrol pants on to
Oh,
everybody. So everyone knew
brilliant.
he was potty training. I didn't even have to explain what was happening
That's
with him
good.
this week.
I am interested in potty training. I think we're at the point where she should, because she is talking about going in a potty, and she's 2 now. She turned 2 in April. So, but I don't even know where to begin. We have actually got an expert coming on soon, but then there's a part of me, and this is really awful, Pip. I probably shouldn't admit it, but I'm like, I feel like that's going to be harder work for me. I don't know. There's going
100%.
to be, oh, I need to go to the toilet. Whereas at the moment, it's just something I don't have to think about. You'll take a nappy and some wipes, and it's um, part of me is like, oh, how long can I hold on for? I don't know.
Oh, I'm with you. It's hands down my least favorite part of parenting to date. And the idea that he's going to have to use a public toilet fills me with complete dread. Like,
Yeah.
disgusting. So
Yeah.
I was very much like holding off, holding off. He's going to be 3 in September. And he was actually asking me to change his bottom before we'd go for a wee because he didn't like the feeling of the wee in the nappy. It
Yeah.
was a bit like, I can't,
That's
you're
exciting.
screaming at me. Like, you're literally screaming at me.
Yeah.
I'm just ignoring you.
Yeah, she's kind of been saying, well, she'll sort of get it all a bit confused, but she will say things, and I'm like, oh, I think we're almost there, but I'll see if I can. Summer's a good time though, isn't it? I was going to try and drag it out a bit longer, but I hear summer's the time to do it. Not that we've even got a
I
summer. It's not
know.
really hot anymore. I think
I
we
was
have.
waiting for the weather and then I thought I'm waiting for another excuse.
Yeah,
Like,
you'll be waiting for another summer.
yeah,
Um,
literally, we'll be 6 by the time I potty train him if I wait for the sun.
yeah.
But tell me what some of the funniest things that she's done recently.
I mean, it's just like, she'll go into another room, and it's her intonation with a lot of language. She'll be like, Mummy, are you okay? And it's just funny how she picks that stuff up. I mean, if I'm being, I really don't want to go as base as toilet humor, but for some
So
reason,
we can go there.
she did learn quite early on to say, oh, Mummy's done a Trump, or Daddy's done a Trump, which I hadn't, by the way, guys. But um, the fact that she learned that, and she learned that that was funny, Eden's done a Trump and then makes a noise, is just ridiculous. And yeah, just having her own opinions, and she did something at the weekend. Oh, it's every day. It's like a different thing every day. I'm trying to, you're trying to grasp for the specifics. I mean, that's one of them, but um, yeah, she'll just asking for our ice lorries, and um yeah, being a very opinionated age, and kind of that's what she wants, and that's I do quite like, I like that. It's
I
kind of
love it.
sassy.
You almost want to
um
write like a little book, don't you? So that you don't forget all their like funny little things. It's just brilliant.
well, you should actually, shouldn't you? Because like you say, you asked me then, and I kind of, you can't really remember on the spot, but every day there's something little. And I'm for a Father's Day card, I put a few things, like she calls anything to do with, when it was her birthday, she had chocolate cake, and she calls it choc cake, but she calls any snack a choc cake. So she's got choc cake, and she just wants a
Oh.
snack. And
I
it's
bet
like,
everyone's like, "Oh, you feed your child a chocolate cake."
yeah, no, it rarely ever is, but yeah, that's it. And but now she has started. She grabbed my bag early and went, "Mummy, want a snack? Mummy, I want a snack." And she's just, yeah, she's in that kind of territory where she is a very bossy toddler, but I do find it very amusing. So
It is
yeah,
brilliant.
I like it.
It's so much fun. Now, Amy, I feel like, we're both kind of in that world of social media, and so often, and I find it so frustrating, there is this like perfect painted picture of motherhood. And you speak super openly on your own podcast and the work that you do about the fact that often it's far from perfect. Let's be real. What are some of the kind of hardest things or kind of curveballs that you found on your motherhood journey so far?
Do you know the thing that I grapple with the most, and I was thinking about it earlier today, just the one thing I've not been able to get my head around, and I feel like people weren't talking about it enough, is the work childcare balance. I
Mm.
just feel like everyone had babies and cracked on with their careers and it seemed fine. And I've just found myself, I guess, because we don't have any, we don't live near any family, so we don't have any help in that respect. So it's all paid, so she's in nursery 2 afternoons a week. But I remember in the early days trying to get help, like a part-time nanny or someone who could do a few afternoons a week. And I couldn't get anyone. No one was interested in doing just 2 or 3 afternoons a week. It
Mm.
needed to be full time, and then you're looking at spending over £1,000 a month. And let alone if you do a 9 to 5 and you go back to your 9 to 5, then you're paying, I mean, around here, I'm just on the outskirts of London, that's 2.5 grand a month.
Mm.
And I just feel like that, I don't know. I think before I had a baby, I was just like, oh, I'll figure it out. Everyone else does. But then when you're faced with the reality of it, it's kind of blown my mind. And I'm now in a situation, my previous job. So I work in radio. So at the moment, I'm sort of between radio station jobs, but I do presenting and I'm freelancing and I'm actually looking to set up on my own. I trained as a yoga teacher a few years ago and I never got round to doing anything with it because I was very busy with all my other presenting work. And now this seems like a perfect opportunity because I can fit it in perfectly around Eden, and that's great. But I just feel like there's so many women who I know who get to this point. You've had your year's maternity leave, and then you're faced with, okay, well, now I've got to spend a fortune on childcare, coupled with the fact you probably don't want to put your kid in nursery 5 days a week and have someone else raise your kid like that. I don't think I was prepared for that. I
Mm.
think I thought, oh, I'll figure out, I've worked really hard for my career my whole life and that's not going to be jeopardized. So I'll just do whatever it takes. And then you realize what that takes. And I don't want to do that. I want to be with Eden as much as I can. And so now I'm looking at, well, that's going to be more of a part-time option that I'm looking at or trying to, I'm currently looking at different roles at the moment. And it's really hard because I got really upset over the weekend because there's an opportunity potentially on the horizon, which would mean I would be going into central London every day. And it would be a great career opportunity, but it would mean I wouldn't see her much. And I don't think there's a flexible option with that. And it's just really hard. And I grapple with that a lot because there's a good chance I had her. I'm a bit older now. I'm 41 now, and I can't see myself having any more just because of where I'm at in life and it's nothing to do with her. And that's the thing that I found a bit probably sort of frustrating and a bit upsetting is that it's not being a mum is hard work. We know that it is a graft, but it was really rewarding and I just love being with her. But what I wasn't prepared for was how to balance and juggle the whole having a bit of a career at the same time and the thought of throwing another in the mix. I don't know how to sort of manage that and still have a bit of my life and a bit of my career. And yeah, do you give everything? Or it's really hard. And I think we're very much a generation that's still working this out because, we grew up. I don't know about you. I felt like I grew up very much in an empowering sort of space of women can have it all. And then you get there and go, not really.
You can't. Yeah, like you just can't. And I think there's so many pieces of the puzzle for women and mothers as well, in terms of like work, motherhood, being a wife, having
Yeah.
actually some sense of self left at the end of all that and how that looks. And it does, I totally resonate. It feels like a completely impossible juggle. And I feel like that does impact women more than men and mums more than dads, often in most setups. I really think it does. And like you say, it's really hard. You work really hard for your career. You want to do that. You're proud of that. You want to showcase that to her. But how
Yeah.
do you do that and still be there for her? And I remember dropping Finley off for nursery on his first day. And I didn't even leave the car park. I just cried because I was like, this just feels so unnatural to give it.
Mm.
He was doing like a school day and a short morning because I went back on nights for his benefit so that I was around more in the day. But then
Yeah.
he was going to nursery so I could get a bit of sleep after them. And I was like, this just feels so unnatural that I've just given my child to someone else. And like you, we don't have family around. So it was like I'd never left him, never. And I'm giving him to a stranger. Like it just felt so unnatural and wrong in every stretch of life. But I
Yeah.
want to be a midwife. And it's so difficult, isn't it? It pulls you in a million directions.
Yeah, and the reality is, I'm sure the same with your situation is once she started nursery after a few weeks, she loves it. And now I would feel comfortable. Now she's getting a bit older, putting her in for a couple of more afternoons, maybe, and all that kind of stuff. But it's just I wasn't prepared
Mm.
for that. If and I just think I'm still figuring it out, and I think a lot of women are. And I just think we're a bit of an experimental generation at the moment where we're kind of going, right, we've had a career and but now I've had a baby and I need to get back to work and I want to get back to work, but work or the workplace environment and the rest of society doesn't seem to have quite caught on to the fact that, we've got a nursery pickup time or a school pickup time, or we do need a bit more flexibility. We need women in the workplace. And also with the cost of living, it's not, I don't know about you, but my mum, I'm the youngest of four kids, and so my mum didn't work till I was a teenager, and I'm the youngest one, so she didn't work for years because she raised children, but it was more, and that was more the norm,
Yeah.
then, and also we lived in a world where it was easier to live off one income, and now it's just becoming quite challenging. Yeah, it's just all a lot to take on, and sometimes I feel annoyed at the system more than anything than parenthood. We should be around our kids as much as we want to be. And I know that's not for everyone. And I've got some friends who are like, crikey, my kids are in 4 full days a week or five. I can manage that. And that's great. And that's fine. It's all about choice and what works for you. But I think for me personally, that's what I wasn't prepared for, really.
And it's almost like we've been given a false, like a kind of like, it's like we've been told a bit of a lie in terms of like, yes, you can have everything. You can have that career now, female empowerment, like, girl power, women bosses, all that great stuff. But it doesn't fit. Like it just doesn't fit, does it?
Um,
Because to have that career progression, like you're navigating, you need to be investing more time in work. There's more travel, there's longer days. And then there's this little person. And I really feel at the moment like once they're in school, kind of lose them. Like they are then 5 days a week, unless you choose to homeschool, obviously. They are then in this 5 days a week system for forever. And then they're adults. So these years
yeah.
just feel extra precious when you see how quickly they go by. Like it's 4 or 5 years and then that's it.
Yeah. That's it. But I keep thinking like that, Pip, and I'm like, oh, and then she'll be in school, da, da, da. But then the reality is that school day is really short. Is it that
Yeah.
9 till 3? I've got friends who are like, oh my God, it's worse. Nursery, if she was to do a full day at my nursery, she could do 9 till 6:30,
Yeah.
and at the moment she just does the afternoons. But yeah, but you're still gonna have that kind of battle to get to the school gates, and it's hard. It's just we're figuring it out, and it's good to know that you're not alone in it, but it's
Mhm.
just I actually saw on LinkedIn today, actually. I can't remember her name, but she set up like a recruitment agency for employers and for parents, and it's called what's it called, the 5 hour workday or something. And it's
Oh,
basically, here are jobs where you can fit it in within school hours, or you can work remotely, or they have flexible working, and they'll only have jobs on that website that is applicable to that, which I just thought was amazing, because I do know a lot of women who get to this point and just think, well, particularly if they're having a second baby, how am I going to fit that in? So yeah, we just need more support,
mhm.
and to be recognized that you can still do a good job. I love going into work. I still love working. Um, and I do just as good a job, but it's just making it work around your family.
And it like because generationally that's such a big change, I certainly find when I discuss this to our parents, yes, they try and empathize, but they don't get it. Like they absolutely don't get it. And
No,
they're like, I
no.
remember, yeah, I juggled small children too. And you're like, yeah, the world was completely different. When I said, when I was going back to work, which was always going to happen when we had our first, my mother-in-law was horrified. She's like, why are you going back to work? I survived on one salary. And you're like, the world is a completely different place. Have you seen mortgage rates? Like, it
I
just
know.
doesn't work anymore. Like, there
Yeah.
are such few women that yes, like you, I wanted to go back. I'm really proud that I'm a midwife.
Yeah.
But secondly, like we've just had to. That's the logistics. And I
Yeah.
think, like you say, people they don't get it. People just don't get it. It's so different. We are in such a different time, I think, this generation of mums.
Yeah, definitely. My mum said to me the other day, she said, well, do you and your mum friends you met at your antenatal group, do you meet up for coffee? And I said, well, and like play dates, because we all used to meet up and we'd have a lovely coffee and the kids would play. And I said, well, we did in the first year when they were babies, but they're all back to work.
Yeah.
And my mum had a moment. She went, gosh, yeah, it really is different, isn't it? Because up until I was like at least at school, none of the mums were at work.
Yeah.
It was just, and what a luxury. And also they didn't have just sort of the pressure. I don't know about you. Like I recently broke my phone before I was about to go on holiday and I had a massive panic. It was the night before, smashed my phone in half. It wouldn't turn on. And I had an accidental digital detox. I didn't know I needed one, but my goodness, it was incredible because I'm all, we're addicted to our phones. Most of it, I didn't realize, most of us are, but we're permanently connected, aren't we, to our email or even our bank accounts, every single app, there's a it's always on. And I think I felt massive overwhelm before this holiday because a lot had happened, but also I realized I just needed to turn it all off. And it's worth doing. I need to remind myself to keep doing that because it was the best thing that could have happened.
It was an accident that perhaps was actually fate timed just before your holiday when there was nothing you
Oh,
could do about it.
100%. Like Jenny said, I remember on the podcast was like, this is the universe sending you a sign. And it
Yeah.
was absolutely right. However you take that, it was needed. And it was quite eye-opening actually, because I realized, wow, my brain is never switched off from all those little things. And yeah, and I've got back into that space a bit again now, and I definitely need to tap out because it's we've got a lot going on. There's a lot of tabs open in our heads, isn't there, in our brains, not just on our laptops. It's just a bit of a constant battle.
Yeah, and there's a constant stream of comparison as a mum. As soon as you open your phone, there is a constant comparative. I remember with Finley going to a baby group and he was really slow. I say slow, he was normal, but compared to all the people around us, he was slow in terms of like crawling and walking and all that kind of physical developmental stuff. And I used to leave baby groups just in floods of tears because I was just comparing him to
Yeah.
others. I mean, now you can't stop the boy running around. It's
Yeah.
completely ridiculous. But at the time, it's just I feel like you're almost in like a pressure chamber of comparison around children. And I don't know about you, Amy, but one of the things that really surprised me, probably naively, before I had children, I was very much like, they'll just fit into our life and I won't change. I'll still be this same sort of person with some additions. And from the moment Finley was born, I was like a completely different human, like
Yeah.
completely different in so many ways. Some really positive, some probably not so much. But I was surprised by how much I've changed as a person since becoming a mum. Have you felt that kind of shift and how have you managed that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think most of it is for the better. I do love the fact that, she's my priority now. I'm not. I quite like that. I mean, I'm very conscious of making time for myself and doing things and getting back to things that I previously loved and all that stuff, especially now she's a little bit older. But yeah, I think the real shift that I found, aside from being more emotional about things,
Yeah,
um,
everything.
I don't know how to explain this. I've got quite a lot of friends who are child free and are choosing to be, and a couple of them have just said, I just don't want to give up, those nice adult only holidays and the luxury. We go for a nice brunch and we do this, this, and this. And I get that. And there's a part of me, I don't say it because I think it just sounds patronizing, but there is a part of me that goes, but when you have a kid, you sort of, they used to be I used to love those kind of things, but then you just don't care as much
Yeah.
anymore. Don't get me wrong, I still love those things. But I know there'll be a time I'll go back to that. I know, and I know now I can make time to do some little things, but I like doing things with Eden, and I think the things that you were always worried about maybe just suddenly disappear. They did for me. I just didn't care about them anymore. Um, you know, I used to think, oh, when I have a kid, my house is going to stay immaculate, and I'm not going to have any of that crap. I'm not going to have those stupid little kitchens, and I'm not going to have all those plastic toys. And then now I've got a bloody teepee in there. I've got a kitchen. I've got a colouring station, a little table and chair, and I love it because she loves it, and it keeps her busy. But you think you're not going to become. You're like, I'm not going to become that. I'm not going to be that person or that
Yeah.
mother, that parent. But But you do, and you don't care. And I just think I love the things that I've sort of dropped, and yeah, it just changes your whole priorities, and that's yeah, I think I do see that as a positive. But like you say, I feel like things do come back slowly, and I don't know. I was going into London yesterday, and sometimes I feel like, I don't know, I get a bit Stockholm syndrome, I think I call it, where I'm at home and I'm so comfortable at home with her,
Mm,
pottering around, whatever. And I think, oh God, I've got to go into London. And then I get there and I go, oh, I love this.
yeah,
But it's nice to come home. It's just that, yeah, your mindset changes so much.
100%, doesn't it? And I think, like you were saying, it part of it is that work balance as well, as you recognize what feels most important. And we've got a playroom and a living room, and I remember thinking, right, we've got a playroom so that everything goes in there, and at the end of the day, you shut the doors and you've got like an adult living space. Well, we've also got a kitchen that I spend more time tidying up than the actual kitchen. That's in the
Yeah,
middle of the living room, like
yeah.
it's chaos. But you love it because seeing the world through their eyes, you might be able to hear mine coming up. Um, bear with. But seeing the
That'll
world
let you
through
know.
their eyes is like complete magic, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
complete magic. There's nothing quite like it. Come in to join us, buddy.
Oh, let me see. Oh,
Look you,
hello,
Alfie. He's clearly
little man.
starved to death today.
Oh, bless him.
Um,
Hello. Do a live feed. I used to do
yeah, that's
this
what we
all the
do.
time on the podcast.
My
Go.
boobs are basically just always out.
Yeah. Well, I say I miss it. I sort of,
You're like,
I
do I? Do I
don't
miss
know.
it?
Do I miss it? I don't think I do, but I loved feeding. I did love feeding, but I fed for, I mean, I did up to 20 months actually in the end with Eden.
Wow.
But that's because it was just easy. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, look at me, what I did. It was just, I didn't know anything else. I got to that point. But yeah, oh, bless him. And how is he doing? Sorry to like move on, but I was so worried seeing your posts. My God.
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely horrendous, to be honest. It was horrendous. But so far, he seems to be doing as well as we could possibly hope. Meningitis is one of those things where stuff can crop up later on. So he's going to be under like close review with our consultant. But so far, I mean, he certainly seems to be able to hear. And that's one of the biggest worries is that it impacts their hearing. Um, but I mean, our house isn't quiet with a toddler and building work and a loud husband and life. And he certainly responds to everything. So
Good.
yeah, hopefully will all be good.
Because I saw your posts, and I think that's the other thing when you become a mum, like, that would have been even without a baby, seeing any baby or child unwell is horrendous. But as a mum, like you feel it sort of like, oh my God, within your
Oh,
bones, don't you? And you
yeah.
just think, oh my God, I feel like I don't know how she's coping with that. And I feel a bit sick for her. And I keep thinking about it. It's that
Oh,
thing,
bless
like
you.
you just think, and then it was good for you to raise awareness as well, because a few days later, like Eden was poorly and she just had a sick bug, I think. But you're going through all these things like, oh my God, when do I, yeah, and that's even worse with a baby when you're trying to sort of self-diagnose everything and not really knowing, but yeah, it's a
I
roller
think
coaster
that
of emotions.
emotional brain is nuts, isn't it? I was
Oh,
like really very level-headed, I think, before children and very decisive and didn't really cry at stuff. Like wasn't that kind of emotional person. Since having children, anything that involves children that you see like on the news or anywhere, I'm like, oh my God, it just hits so different, doesn't it? Because you're
yeah.
like and they're just so little and vulnerable.
Oh, I know.
Um,
Yeah.
it does hit so different. But yeah, just so grateful to have him home. But it was definitely one of those things that I recognized was that made life so much harder having two. That was
Oh, yeah.
a real challenge because I was really clear that I wanted to make sure like Finley's adjusted incredibly to being a big brother, but I was
Yeah.
conscious that his life had shifted massively and I wanted him to still have his routine and knowing that I was away for we didn't really know how long at that stage. I wanted to make sure he still had like security at home.
Yeah.
So
Of
we
course.
decided that James, my husband, would basically be at home with him, do everything for him, would then put him to bed at night, and then we'd get someone to come and sit with him while he then drove to the hospital until like 1 a.m. and would then drive back to be there when he woke up in the morning. So that
Yeah.
was like the juggle of two. Whereas if it was our first, well, we would have both just been at hospital and we didn't have to think about anything else. So that was definitely kind of a big thing. If you think, gosh, yeah, when you expand your family and something isn't smooth, it's really tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, Finley didn't ask me once. That
Yeah.
was fine.
I mean, that's the annoying thing, and that's the thing with being a mum as well, is like the constant worry, and you know that that's never going away. I mean, we were
Yeah.
watching a film a couple of nights ago, and there was a moment where the girl was going off to college, and she was like 18 or whatever, and we both looked at each other and were like, "Oh God, he just might do that one day. What are we gonna
Yeah.
do when she leaves?" I was like, "Wow, she's 2 years old, and we're already thinking about, yeah, it's wild, but." Yeah, I
They
would.
say they don't they? It's like having your heart walking around outside your body, and you're like, it
Yeah,
literally is, isn't it? Like 100%, because you're just gonna worry about them forever. And I went off traveling and stuff when I was younger, and I'm like, oh, like it was amazing and it was great and it shaped me as a
same.
human. But do you just want to like go to an all-inclusive holiday instead when you're a
Yeah.
teenager?
Oh my God, Pip. I'm exactly the same. I've had the same conversation. Where is she gonna go? I mean, thank goodness now we've got phones, really, because when I went, I think I had a mobile phone that sent texts, but my parents didn't know where I was.
No.
I went traveling around Australia and Thailand, and we just kept in contact with emails like once every 2 weeks or something. And
Yeah.
you just think, oh my
That would
God.
not suffice now, would it? You'd be like, no.
No, and I remember them being worried, and I'm like, what worried about? I'm 19. I don't know what I'm doing. I can look after myself. You think, oh my God.
Yeah.
But
Oh my goodness.
yeah, we're
Well,
in
we've
for a
got
ride.
that joy to come. I
Yeah.
mean, to be honest, that makes potty training feel easier. The thought that one day he's going to tell me he's going to travel Thailand.
Yeah. Yeah. You won't have to wipe his bum. So that will be
No,
something.
we will not have to wipe his bum. That is absolutely so true. Amy, talk to me about the biggest highs of motherhood, because we've talked a bit about some of the challenges and finding ourselves, but also it is great chaos, isn't it? Talk to me about some of the things that you love the most.
I just love, I think she just makes me laugh every day. And I can't handle how cute she is sometimes. Like I just went to get her up from a nap earlier before nursery, and she was cuddling her little dog Teddy in bed. And I was just like, stop it. It's unbearable. I can't cope with how cute you are. It's just
Oh,
the love that you feel it is overwhelming, and you are going to worry, but it was everything. I was always like, I want to be a mother because I feel like I want to have a baby. I want to feel that. And I had nieces and nephews, and I knew how I felt about them. But I wasn't quite sold on the whole parenting lifestyle.
yeah,
A bit like you, Pip. I like traveling, and I liked,
yeah.
yeah, nice things, nice restaurants, all that kind of stuff.
Nice
So
living room.
yeah,
Got a
nice
kitchen in.
house, nice living room. Yeah. I wasn't entirely sold on the whole parenting, going to soft play at the weekend and stuff. And now I just find myself doing things and you do love doing it because you're with them. I mean, I don't go to soft play all that much, to be honest. I don't mind soft play.
I'm still not sold on soft play.
I don't mind it, but because we've got a dog, I'm generally like, right, let's go to the forest instead. And just doing all those things that I used to envisage doing with my child are just as good, if not better, than I imagined. Um, it just makes you feel, yeah, for me, because it's what I really wanted. I do just feel, so she does sort of make me feel complete, to be quite honest. They just become your world. And I think, yeah, like seeing her develop and grow and her personality, and then, and then seeing them with your friends' kids, we've got, because a lot of our friends had kids a few years before us. We were a little bit later. And so they're a little bit grown up. So they'll look after her. And it's just joyous. It really is. And like I say, your sort of life perspective changes in a good way. It becomes all about them, and you just want to make sure you're providing for them and looking after them. And it's just, yeah, and the cuddles. I mean, she's at that age where she doesn't want to cuddle for long unless it's bedtime when we're putting her down. But the other day when she was a bit poorly, she cuddled me for like nearly 2 hours
Oh,
straight on the sofa. And I
oh.
just, I mean, nothing comes close to that. It's just, yeah, it's
Yeah,
the most.
Finley runs at me for like 30 seconds, squeezes me, and then he's like, right, I'm off. No, that's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah,
Done.
yeah, that's all you're getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing their personality develop. And now when I go away, we're still keen, right? We're going to go to places abroad and whatever, and we do that. And actually, it's not been that bad. We're always, let's take a short flight. We just go to France or whatever. But I love taking her on like the plane, and she loves it. So taking her. doing things that I love with her are
Yeah,
just so brilliant. And she's excited being on a flight, and then we go and see a different part of the world. I just, yeah, it's amazing. It is
it is
really,
magic.
it is magic. It's fulfilling. And I do think, I think on Instagram and things like that, like you say, you can see this picture perfect world. And we know about the hardships, but I do think sometimes it goes the other way now, doesn't it? Where you see a
Mm.
lot, I've got friends who are like, parenting looks terrible. And I get it, because there will be people who've sort of gone too real the other way who, I think, yeah, it's striking, hopefully finding the balance, however that looks for you. But there are just the highs are so high, and sometimes the low is very low. But it's worth it.
It
I
is,
would.
and like you said at the beginning, that kind of almost scaremongering, I think, amongst, oh, wait for this stage or wait for
Yeah.
that stage. And I felt that with the transition from one to two. Oh, wait till you've got two, and actually, I'm like, it's amazing. So now I keep saying to parents when they hear that, like, oh, wait for that, or what if this happens? I'm like, and what if it's amazing? What if it's magic? What if it's the best thing ever? Because equally, it might be like that rather than all of this kind of scaremongering that we often hear about.
And you never know when your tricky bit of parenting might be. You might have had a dream baby and a tricky toddler, or the other way around, and you just got to. Every day's a bit different, and every day's a new day.
Every day's a
But
new day.
when you've had a bad one, yeah, I do think it, and it is your approach to it. I think you could easily get into a mindset of, this is really hard, and I'm not getting anything out of it. I don't know. Well, maybe when they're babies, I do find it. I
Hmm.
do like the baby cuddles. You've got to find, yeah, hopefully you can find the good bits out of it. I think most parents do, but um I can
Let's
see
just
how
all pray for good teenagers. I feel like that's where it could go really wrong. Let's pray for good teenagers. Amy,
yeah.
everyone that comes on the podcast, I ask for three top tips. What would your three top tips be to a mum navigating the depths of motherhood?
Tip number one would be take time for yourself. So make sure you do that, because I often forget. And it's like this weekend, actually, I'm going to see Kylie in Hyde Park, and
Oh,
I said yes.
amazing.
I said yes to tickets ages ago, and I don't know about you. I always have that kind of initial, oh God, I'm doing that this weekend. It means I've got to get ready and go out. I don't know why I have like that small sense of dread, and then when I'm there, I know I'll be like, oh yes, this is like the old me, and this is fun, and you get a break, and then you
Yeah.
get to go home. Or if it's going to a spa for an afternoon, or just going out for a coffee, like, mate, especially in those sleep deprivation days, you have got to lean into help. You have got to do it, because just having an hour or two to yourself, turn your phone off. It makes a world of difference. And I'd be a bit of, not a martyr. I just didn't realize I was doing it, or I'd get to a point it was too late, and then I'd have a bit of a meltdown, and my other half be like, why didn't you say something sooner? I could have taken the load off sooner. And I didn't. So I think that would be my tip number one. Tip number two, if you're in the real sort of trenches, like early, I don't know, sleep deprivation was my ultimate, like, right, real struggle. I think that was the hard, because like you say, you can deal with anything when you're getting sleep. I think in those days you have got to take it slow. Just cancel, if you're feeling overwhelmed, cancel everything, and focus on that one little thing a day that is going to make your day, regardless of your night. So for me, I don't know what, me and my boyfriend often talk about this. We really cherish that first coffee in the morning. We're
Oh,
big on
I'm with
coffee.
you. I'm with
We've got a
you.
really nice, we invest in a nice coffee machine. And so even if I was having like the worst night, up all night, and I just thought, well, I've got to get through another day. If it was really bad, I'd be like, whatever I've got on, cancel it. I'm going to stay at home. But I would focus on that one little thing, and it would be that first coffee in the morning that would just takes the edge off. And whatever that is for you, something small, or, I love yoga, obviously. And so I will always, especially if I'm sleep deprived, fit in a morning sun salutation. It could take you 1 minute, do it with your baby, stretch your body. You've got to, because it affects you so physically, the sleep deprivation, especially, and just the overwhelm. If you're in that stage of motherhood, you got to do something to sort of release your body, or exercise, stretch, have that coffee. I'd focus on that one little thing. Um, and just try and drop as much as you can. You got plans, you feel overwhelmed, just cancel them, prioritize you in those moments. Um, Tip number three, uh, I think generally just give yourself a break. just with everything really, and whatever stage you're at. Again, I have to sort of remind myself. I was talking to a friend the other week about my work setup and which direction I'm going to go, and I feel like a bit in limbo at the moment because I'm attempting several things and then looking at this other job and all this kind of stuff. And he said to me, just take a day off, like have a break, and the same thing applies to all three, really, doesn't it? It is just that moment of take the pressure off. The load is very heavy, parenting alone, let alone work pressures, emails, your Instagram, whatever it is that is, the comparisons, all that stuff. You got to step away from it. And whatever it takes for you to do that, go for a walk in a forest. I go for a walk because I have to walk my dog. And like I've taught Eden to hug trees, but genuinely,
Oh.
things like that. You've got to step up, put your phone down, and immerse yourself in nature. That would be,
Mm.
and yeah, take a break. I think that's the only thing we can do, really. Oh, and ask for help. I'll chuck that
Yeah,
in
and
where you
asking for help is
can.
a really good one because if you're like you and I, and there's not like naturally loads of help around, it can feel uncomfortable to ask for it, but it's powerful. It's something I've definitely lent into the kindness of strangers so much having two children. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, that asking for help is such a powerful one. Amy, thank you so much for letting me steal you away for a catch up with your busy schedule that I know you're juggling. So thank you so much for a reassuring chat, I think, for other mums listening in.
I hope so, Pip. Thank you for having me on and sending you lots of love and health your way as well with the little one. I hope
Much
it all goes
appreciated.
well.